Yay!
Yay, Weird Al.
Oh, man. Star Trek's back.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, friends of the pod. All of you are friends today as we deal, well, spoiler alert, before we're going to talk about Discovery episodes 2 and 3 today on our Star Trek subpod, Subspace Transmissions.
Yeah. We may reference episode 1, I suppose, but, if you're at 2 and 3, you probably already saw 1.
So that's the last time we're going to say spoiler alert. I'm sad. I'm sad. A little sad.
Why, Andrew?
Philippa, man. She gone.
Yeah. That went real quick.
I knew we couldn't stay with the Shenzhou forever.
Right.
But I didn't know the
Discovery. Not Shenzhou.
Right. But I didn't know the Shenzhou wouldn't be in my heart forever.
Yeah. What a thing, man.
Yeah.
They kind of leave you on the edge of, Michael gets sent to the brig and they hail the Klingons, and then it's like, oh man, who knows what's going to happen? A bunch of Federation ships show up, and then all of a sudden, now it's like Federation plays right into the Klingons' hands, and hey, it's war.
Yeah. Wow. Oh boy, I didn't understand that Star Trek was going to start off this earnest. Right? You
weren't ready for it to get this real.
Maybe. Previous series in general have at times gotten very desperate, right? For especially Deep Space Nine, maybe during the war, or some of the alternate reality stuff gets very last man standing even,
Yeah, sure.
But I didn't expect a new series to start off as intense maybe as this one, and they don't abandon the thread after the end of episode 2 here either. So that was just a surprise to me. But
yeah, it seems based on where this episode goes and then where the next episode after this goes, that really these first 2 episodes and the kickoff for this war and stuff are kind of just like the background for what we're actually going to be seeing for the rest of the show.
Right.
But still very, very upfront. And man, Michael does some stuff.
Sure does. All right. So let's start it off. Episode 2. We don't go back to the battle at the twin stars, right?
Yeah. Or binary stars.
Binary stars. Yeah. For the immediate moment. Instead, we get to see Michael from the past joining the Shenzhou.
Yeah, we get a little bit of her getting dropped off there by Sarek.
And I wanted to talk about it for a second because it's my first moment of, with the show. She, Philippa, mentions that she's excited to have Burnham aboard because she's the first human graduate of the Vulcan Science Academy.
Yep.
The Vulcan Science Academy, which would not accept Spock because he's half human.
Yep.
Huh.
Also, Spock being older, I think, than Michael. Maybe their attitudes changed in the, 20 years or whatever that's supposed to have taken place between those two. I don't know. How much older is Spock than these characters?
Unclear,
how old are Vulcans?
I think. Is it been made clear at this point in our actual knowledge of the show?
The show hasn't made it clear.
Oh, okay.
But due to outside knowledge, I know that Spock is older.
Yeah, we looked
this
up
takes
before.
place after original Star Trek.
Yes.
But before TNG.
Discovery timeline. We've looked this up before.
This is going to end bad for us.
No, we can do this. Let's see. We're roughly in the 23rd century. Spock is born on Vulcan in 2230.
Okay.
But Michael is born on Earth 2226. So she is 4 years older than Spock.
She's 4 years older than Spock?
She's 4 years older than Spock. Spock's her little brother. Which means she went to the Science Academy before Spock gets denied from the Science Academy for being half human.
Okay, maybe this goes the other way around then. They denied him because they had problems with her.
4 years is, I mean, that's not really enough time to have made that. Really?
I don't know. I don't have a justification here. This is just the,
Well, I don't want to get too hung up on it, but like, fine. You want to mess with
maybe
Vulcan.
There are multiple science academies on Vulcan.
Sure, there's... Okay.
They've got more than one university, and this is like, Vulcan University number 3.
Not how space works?
Yeah. How dare they have more than one college?
All right. Well, I don't agree with this change to Vulcan.
Yeah, or maybe they've retconned it. Who knows?
No.
No, it couldn't be that. They never do that in this show.
Unacceptable. All right. Back to the binary stars. Things are in desperate earnest here.
Yeah, they get all the ships start fighting.
Well, first we get to know Takuvma's name finally.
They said it in the first one.
I don't think so.
They did.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I have a problem with this show, maybe, where this happened to me in episode 3 also as a foreshadow, but like they introduce a character, they're like, it's Lieutenant Blank. This is who, this is blah, this is who. And I'm like, I did not catch that. Can you say that again?
That problem is going to persist, let's say, into the episode 3, because there are definitely multiple characters whose names I never learned. And then I only got like by watching the credits at the end and seeing how their name is spelled.
Yep, I have started to just leave open the wiki because I don't want to wait to try and figure it out.
Yeah. Like I recognize a series of syllables as a person's name and I don't quite understand it until I read it at the end of the episode.
I think it's just because they've picked so many various names, and also, like I said, this show is very earnest, so things are happening like lickety-split, and they just introduce people under their breath. It is sometimes very hard to hear.
I have a specific complaint about this related to episode 3, which we can get to there.
I bet you we have the same one. That's funny. All right.
Almost certain.
As we kind of like get a little bit of the Klingon view before we get into the battle of they're trying to build unity within the Empire. There's 24 houses still. And I'm curious, what do you think of Takuvma overall? I think he sounds kind of like a sad sack.
Well, they're kind of portraying the entire Klingon Empire as a sad sack at this point.
No, I just mean he sounds like a sad sack.
You just mean like his voice or like his portray? I'm confused now.
There's definitely some sort of thing going on with the Klingons where they have like the normal Klingon speech that we're used to from previous shows where they're kind of shout talking at each other when they're giving a speech. Or when they are in charge of something. And then Takuvma goes on to the like, I'm going to explain the story of my dad or something. And when he's talking to the houses, he just kind of is like very like quiet and sad puppy sounding. I don't want to do the voice because I don't want it. It's hard to like.
Klingon is not English, so it's hard to tell how much of it is the actor struggling to say weird Klingon words. Yeah,
but like he gets like he has his like shout talk, I'm the preacher guy, and then also when he's talking to the heads of houses, he's kind of like murr, murr, murr. And you're like, what?
I didn't interpret that as a like him being down. The audio was weird at a few points in the show. and that was definitely one of them. While he was talking to those people, it was like, I don't know, they lost the reverb or something of him talking in the big room or whatever.
Maybe.
And now it just sounded like him talking, like us on this podcast or something, being like, but all the words ended in weird kind of like me sounding, and then it's like, oh, well, he sounds dumb because all of his sentences end with like me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not his fault. That's how the language works.
Yeah.
I don't know. Klingon is weird. A lot of the scenes with the Klingons in this were like interesting politically, kind of, but then, well, based on where this goes, I don't know that it amounted to much, and maybe we shouldn't have cared.
All right, well, there's division, but the Federation backup arrives. They say, oopsie, they say we come in peace, and so the Klingons
are like, it's a trap. Shoot them.
They open up. Yeah. Man, the robot lady gets it fast.
Mm-hmm.
I like the new Fed designs. The Federation design aesthetic is definitely more uniform than maybe previously.
Yeah.
There's a lot of flat ships everywhere.
Yeah. And it's cool to see sort of, the few scenes we get of like the space battles and stuff are pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
But our lovable Shenzhou here kind of gets taken out of the fight pretty quick early on.
They get wrecked hard. Burnham's in the brig, and she's talking to a dude, and he's coming in to tell her what? He's like, you need to be on the bridge. You were right this whole time.
Sounds like he's about to break her out of prison.
And whoop, there he goes.
Airlocked. Like it's Battlestar Galactica, and someone didn't feel good today, or whatever.
Something I've always thought Star Trek kind of was very light on was the what happens before the force field moment.
Yeah. They showed it in this one multiple times.
Yeah.
Because after this scene, which we're not done with this scene, there's more to talk about here. But after that scene, later on the bridge, someone gets airlocked the same way. Like part of the bridge blows up, and then you just hear like a whoosh, and then you look back over there, that person and their station is gone, and there's the force field.
Yeah. Wow. I like the look of the Shenzhou. They did mention it was an old ship, but woo, it gets blown up hard.
Yeah, man. Wow.
Okay. So before we see the end of the Shenzhou, though, there's another flashback.
Right. Or is it? I don't know. So after the depressurization or whatever and the force field, Michael in her brig,
she's stuck.
You get this kind of like dream sequence /
so we go back to when Sarek finds her, right? Initially,
right, so there's a flashback.
So it's like a dream to begin with that may be related to the end part of this. But I was surprised to find out that her name was Michael before Sarek found her. Were you surprised by that? I had made an assumption, and I don't know why I made this assumption, that maybe because her father's name was Michael Burnham, that Sarek had named her Michael Burnham.
I just thought it was like a weird, like, space name or something.
Yeah, episode 3 kind of touches on that, but he mind melds her. Unsure why at that moment he mind melds her, maybe to save her or something.
Yeah, I think this is the case where like the Vulcan person is doing the mind meld to save the injured person because that works. It's been done in like some Star Trek episodes.
They did it to Spock did it to McCoy to kind of preserve his consciousness inside McCoy.
Right. Yeah. So there's healing reasons to use these things or
Absolutely.
these mind melds.
Sure.
So
sure.
I think that's probably what they're showing in the flashback.
Yeah.
And then
oh man, this is
what is this?
This is a moment. It sure is a moment of I don't even know what to say. It's beyond the like new holograms. We can mind meld across space now.
So when they mind melded, correct. Yes, sorry, I didn't mention it's Sarek. Sarek says that when we melded all those years ago, he left a part of himself in her. And because of that, he can just like talk to her across the galaxy or whatever for some reason.
So they directly imply, like he says that basically Vulcans can speak through subspace to each other. It just takes a lot of energy. And
not even just through subspace. Like there's still the implication that subspace works like radio.
Yeah,
there's no implication here. It's like you have psychic communication with anyone you want to, anyone in the universe, if you're willing to spend enough energy.
I guess maybe I thought it was subspace because it wasn't like he wasn't walking around in front of her. They were in some sort of weird black hole or something talking.
It's like a weird mental land or something. And yeah, wow, it's that's never been hinted at before.
Not one time.
Kind of goes along with a lot of the stuff that we then get to later in episode 3.
There was a moment where it was like, oh, okay, so like she's starting to get hypoxia and maybe the mind meld left a little bit of Sarek in there.
Sure.
And so she's like talking to herself, but she's using Sarek as herself. That would have been acceptable to me. But that is... Vulcans cannot talk across space. I hope this is the last moment we see this.
This is a genuine communication between two peoples using only one of those people's minds.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Yuck.
But all it really amounts to is a nice pep talk of him telling her, hey, you're better than this. Don't die here on this horrible rock. Go pick yourself up by your bootstraps and escape jail and save the day or whatever.
Yep. So Shenzhou loses power, main power at least, and they get yanked by a tractor beam from the cool big ship. I don't even know the name of it.
The Admiral or whoever saves them.
Yeah, kind of doesn't matter.
In the end, it doesn't, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then...
the Admiral and Philippa Giorgio have a talk. And she's like, yeah, thanks, this is good. And the Admiral's like, all right, well, we're going to open up a channel to the Klingons. Let's cease fire. This will be great. And Zakuma's like, watch this, guys. Hold my beer.
I did not understand that the ship was cloaked. When did the ship get cloaked?
He says at some point that, like, oh, don't doubt that I can make my ships invisible or whatever. But they never really explain that, like, people are like, oh, hey, that big ship just disappeared. Weird. But you'd think they would know, given that it was, like, the main one or whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was the main ship, and then it's cloaked somehow. I missed that. I missed something.
He mentions that they can go invisible, but then they don't do it.
But the Federation never is like, whoa.
Yeah, no one acknowledges the fact that it was invisible as that plowed into them. So I don't. Very strange.
Interesting use of a spaceship. Very often seen in other shows. Hardly ever seen in Star Trek.
Right. Yeah, but the battering ram spaceship thing is very uncommon. And it doesn't go good for the Admiral, as you can imagine.
Nope. So Giorgio's back in charge of the fleet, kind of Picard style, I guess, maybe with a broken ship.
Yep.
I caught here that also the Klingons are not calling stuff Kronos like they used to. They call it Konos with a Q.
That's like a Klingon spelling thing.
So yeah, I didn't know that before.
It has technically always been spelled that way in Klingon.
So Kronos is like a Anglification of yeah.
It's like how you can spell words in Arabic, like the Quran, multiple different ways.
Yeah,
it's a similar thing because it's like the sound, right? And how do you spell the sound in English is weird. So
yeah, that's cool. I'm down with that. I just didn't notice. Yeah. I didn't know it before. I'm sure it existed.
Yeah,
I'm glad
it was something I like tangentially knew in the back of my mind, but it never mattered because I didn't watch with subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
And also because like original or at least TNG Star Trek, which I watched the most, if you needed subtitles, they put them there. You needed subtitles in this because they spoke a lot of Klingon.
Sure did.
Whereas I feel like in a lot of the other shows, you don't get as much of them speaking Klingon all the time, unless it's like a Klingons in Klingon space episode or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so then everyone just speaks English, which negates the need for worrying about the subtitles and spelling.
Yeah, I wonder why they didn't do that.
I mean, the Klingons would have no reason to be speaking English, right? Except when he intentionally does speak English during their transmissions or whatever.
Yeah. I just wonder, like, when they're all talking to each other, why they don't speak English like they used to.
Yeah. And that's like a thing where you could say, oh, they're speaking Klingon to each other, but it's more convenient for us, the audience, to hear them in English.
Well, it would certainly speed things up. The Klingon speech is kind of slow.
It definitely can be.
Imagine
those people that do like Shakespeare in Klingon. Crazy.
I don't want to mess.
Shakespeare's already long. It's going to take a long time to get through Klingon Romeo and Juliet or whatever.
Burnamout thinks a supercomputer.
Okay, let's talk about this. All right. Andrew, there are ethical protocols, okay? There have to be. Why? What? Huh? Well, the whole thing, the idea of like an ethical protocol where you, the prisoner, can force the computer to release you by out-logicking it is the dumbest thing I can ever think of. Unbelievable that anyone would ever implement that.
I don't understand how that happens. I maybe think like there were other ways to do this.
Yeah.
Although getting her to depressurize a tiny part of the field and shoot her across a gap in the ship seems odd too, because I didn't know force fields could like be done that way.
They have talked about. I feel like maybe they did that in DS9 before.
You can definitely like shut down sections of them for sure, but this is like open me an exact size door for my heights.
Yeah. I'm more willing to believe that than the like I can out-logic a supercomputer here. The funny thing is that in the way computers work, if her like logic or whatever was sound, the computer should have known at the beginning. You don't have to like teach the computer how something works. It already knows because it can do 80 billion decisions in the time it takes you to like, cough.
Well, what's awesome about Star Trek is the supercomputer idea and that it can run the holodeck and all that. And in my mind, I've always kind of had the thought, okay, well, these computers have to almost be AIs, because if they can run holodeck programs, if they can, run the ships,
and you can talk to them, right? You can, in natural language, you can say, computer cross-reference this with this, and it knows what you mean, which is like not something you can do with normal computers, right? You can't tell your Siri or your Google Assistant or whatever, hey, do this with this thing without being specific. And they are not specific on the show in all Star Trek all the time with the computer. They're kind of just like, do the thing that I want. And the computer's like, got you. And then it does it.
So maybe if it's an AI, you can rewrite a pathway or two.
Okay. I mean, certainly Star Trek is not above magical technology, which is what this has kind of become here.
Yeah.
And there's certainly more magical technology to come.
Yeah, wow. I don't know. It was not my... I think that she could have got out of prison a different way. Also, the ship's half blown up. Maybe she could have just been blown out of prison.
They could have just like had the back wall be weak and she kick it open.
Yeah. Either way, she's back on the bridge and they make a plan.
And the plan is the captain's going to kill herself and blow the Klingons up and everything is going to be good.
Okay. Not a great plan if you're the last remaining captain in the fleet.
I wrote this down at underneath my note that says ethical protocol in giant letters with a bunch of question marks all around it.
I'm going to use that as just like a phrase from now on. My ethical protocol won't allow this.
Below that is the letter that's like, suicide mission, huh? And then things develop very quickly as they see the Klingons beaming their dead back, right? Because the Klingons have declared we won. All these other ships are disabled. We're the best.
Yeah.
We're not going to go kill people who won't fight back because that's not Klingon honorable or whatever.
Which means they could just wait this out on the ship and try and come up with a better plan.
Or just wait this out and then the Klingons will leave and they can repair their ship and go home.
Yeah.
But no, we have to have revenge or get back. They come up with this cockamamie scheme from Michael that the idea is if they capture Takuma, it will make him weak, and then the other Klingons won't want to follow him anymore, and it'll be okay.
They don't want to kill him because
they don't want to make him a martyr, right?
Burnham says that it'll unite the people behind him.
Right.
They go on an away mission?
Yeah, they beam a bomb into the body of a Klingon that they're saving, and then they blow it up.
So they beam aboard a body, right? They beam aboard a body. They put a bomb in the body. Then they don't beam the body aboard. They beam the bomb into the body. That's an amazing amount of targeting to have done into a tractor beam.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a disabled ship, right. I'm just saying.
They got power. I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for them. So the bomb goes off, and then they use the chaos to somehow transport over to the Klingon vessel, which is, despite having had a giant bomb go off, seems like it's not that bad off. And they know exactly where Takuma is, and they go fight him. Also, hold on. So they also only send 2 people.
Right. Yes.
Why?
Our mission is to capture.
You could have sent 6. You just beam an entire team of people over there, and the 2 Klingons that show up will then have no chance.
I believe we sent 2 people much more than we beamed you directly to Takuma somehow.
Yeah. Fair.
What?
I mean, I guess they just went for the bridge and were like, well, hope he's here.
How do you know where the bridge is on a gigantic ancient alien?
How do you know where anything is?
Okay, here. We'll rewrite it for you. They sent 6 2-man teams all over the ship.
Oh, and we only saw
the captain and Michael.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I like it.
Yeah. Who went together for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, because she wanted to, and then Michael said, no, send me, and the captain was like, oh, that's cute. No. They went together.
Well, she was right not to have trusted her.
Yeah, it turned out that was a good idea. The captain tries to hand-to-hand fight Takuma, and that doesn't go good.
Yeah, not a good plan.
She gets stabbed.
She held her own
quick.
for a minute.
Yeah, she parried a couple blows before he got her right in the gut.
In the chest.
Yeah, it didn't go real bad. And Michael kind of fights off the other Klingon whose name I'm forgetting. Is it
Voke?
Voke, thank you. The albino guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She fights him off for a minute or 2 and manages to grab a gun and then shoots Takuma after he stabs her, yeah.
On kill.
Not in the good guy spot shot he's going to have a bad time now.
He just falls over. I think he's pretty much dead at that point.
Yep. And then what's his name? The Saru?
Oh, Saru. By the way, Saru is a Kelpian. I had to look that up.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I just knew that he's the acting first officer there. And he's like, oh, the captain's dead? All right, I'm pulling you out later.
Yeah, total jerk move, man. You left your captain's body over there?
Bro, you could have beamed the body out.
Well, not only did they kill Takuma, but Burnham has a good idea about what Klingons are like, and not only did you turn Takuma into the martyr now, they have a human dead body that they can parade around as the villain. Not a good plan to leave that behind, maybe.
Seems like a mistake. Also,
what a jerk move.
If they could just beam her back, why didn't they just beam him over?
Yeah.
Put a little device on his back or whatever, and then just beam him into a force field. Where's he going to go?
I don't know. Where are you going to beam him to? Half the ship is blown up.
Yeah, fair. Beam him to that cell they had Michael in.
Yeah, it's not like he can outthink the computer, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't know he can outthink the computer.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
So that's the end of Captain Giorgio there, and that's pretty much the end of the episode here. We see
she goes to prison.
We see the court martial where Michael says, like, yeah, I did it, send me to jail.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, life sentence.
Life sentence, yeah, right. Like,
no, man, it has to be. The Federation wouldn't mess around with something like that, Andrew. Come on.
It's not like we're watching a show where the main character can't be in prison the whole time, otherwise we won't have anything to watch.
We're watching a prison show now. You didn't know this is Oz.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Blue is the new black. I'm trying to make Orange is the New Black joke, but I don't watch that show, and I don't know how to.
I mean, that kind of fits considering what we end up with black alerts and all that.
Oh my god! All right, so episode 3.
Episode 3.
I don't have as many notes as I did on this other episode, but I have written in all caps.
No. I have so many on episode 3.
Oh, I have a bunch of questions, but they're not like actual episode notes.
Oh, okay.
But I have written in all caps in giant letters, Black Alert.
I mean, I thought it was kind of an interesting way to bring back Section 31.
Yeah, so they heavily imply all that, right? There's definitely no, like, direct like, you don't hear the word Section 31 or
No,
whatever.
they just say black badges. Huh, that's weird.
Yeah, and they never kind of mention that again. And I didn't remember that at the time while I was watching this.
Section 31?
Right, I didn't remember they were a thing until I think it was, like, late last night or something. I was like, isn't there a thing after I watched it? And I was like, and I Googled and like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so they're working for Black Ops here.
Yeah, well, first we get the 6-month time jump.
Right.
Things are bad with the Klingons. They're at full war. Michael Burnham is famous.
Transferred.
Yeah,
infamous.
Infamous and not popular.
Even among the prisoners, they're like, oh, it's this chick who started the war. Let's be criminals and gang up on her or whatever.
I laughed out loud and continued laughing as that pilot got sucked away into space.
Who could have predicted that?
Yeah. And wondered often later what happened to her because the prisoners got rescued from the shuttle.
Yeah, right?
But I never saw an implication that she was rescued. And then we get our first shot of the NCC 1031 USS Discovery.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What a ship-looking thing.
Yeah, the saucer is like a donut with like a donut hole in the middle.
It's some kind of thing.
It's real interesting looking.
And those nacelles are very long.
Mm-hmm. It's really like they took a ship and someone grabbed the saucer section and then the back section and pulled the back section out kind of and squished it up.
Yeah. It's kind of like a triangle. It's like a triangle and a circle stuck together.
Yeah. That's very interesting look.
Yeah, it's an interesting look. And it's kind of... I've seen pictures, a little bit of it, and it's more brown. I wonder if something changes on this ship, because this is not that... It looked mostly gray. It didn't look brown to me.
Yeah, I don't know. The hull looks like it has that, like, characteristic, like, weird metal designs all over it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a very other, like, at the point that we've seen it now, it's like unremarkable, right?
It's a little bit unremarkable.
Like it looks a little weird, and you don't really catch the reasons for it until we go forward here in this episode.
Yeah, it's sparkly and new, and it looks cool, and there's a lot of interesting stuff you can tell they've built set-wise that you're like getting prepared for. But overall, It's kind of like, okay, that's more plain than I actually imagined, other than the saucer.
Yeah,
the and those shuttles. Let's talk.
Yeah,
what?
Man, those shuttles. Yeah, I don't know.
Where'd those shuttles come from?
Don't know, man. We had to design cool new shuttles, so we put a giant thruster on the back. I don't know.
What Okay, we're previous to
Star
Enterprise, where they have literal
wait,
boxes.
Oh, you mean like Star Trek Enterprise?
The
TNG.
original, 1701 Enterprise, not the show Enterprise. So we have like cool, red painted war shuttles.
Yep.
Now, but then we go back. It's got a lot of me noticing.
Maybe the difference is that these ones can't do warp,
or they can do warp. Oh, maybe they can't. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or they're Section 31 shuttles.
Oh my god.
No, they're not, because the ship shuttle is the same as the prison transfer shuttle. Unless the prison transfer shuttle was one of the Discovery's shuttles. It was implied later why that might be true. I don't know.
I guess that could be, yeah.
Are we allowed to curse on here? Because I wrote down something. I'll bleep it out. I'll bleep it out. I wrote down something here. In Saru.
This guy.
So they get off the ships. Saru's back. He's like, Michael Burnham. And everybody else is like, Michael Burnham. She gets a mini tour of the ship where we're very clear that it's a science vessel.
We meet the security officer lady who doesn't look very sciencey at all.
No, she looks also very... Well, she doesn't have a Black Ops insignia, but...
Look.
She's ready for war.
Yeah, she's ready to fight.
And then we meet Captain... What's his first name?
Who knows? Because this is my complaint about characters whose names no one can understand.
Oh, okay.
You hear his name once under someone's breath.
Captain Lorca?
I don't know. Is that what it is? I couldn't tell you.
Oh, it's definitely Captain Lorca.
Okay, I didn't know, and so then the rest of the time it was like Captain Cup. Yeah, Cup.
Gabriel.
That's the guy.
Gabriel Lorca.
Okay, sure. I believe you. I just don't know because I couldn't understand it.
There's a beautiful shot where he's staring out at the stars and he's talking about his battle injury. And I'm like, are his eyes going to be stars this whole time? That's awesome. No.
No,
he just is sensitive to light.
It was very cool, that shot.
Yeah.
The one you're talking about where he's looking out and you see the stars reflected in his eyes.
That was really pretty. As many things as we said, those are weird things about episode 2. That episode was very pretty as well. This show looks...
A lot of really great shots.
Looks nice. Looks nice all the time. Lorca implies, or Burnham infers, I guess, that maybe Lorca rerouted her shuttle?
Lorca directly implies it and says that, like, he's like, do you think it's an accident you ended up here? I'll help I will win this war whatever way I think I can or whatever. And you're going to help me whether you want to or not.
Right.
And so she's like, okay, I guess. And then she, her intent is to go back to prison after all of this because she doesn't want to be a part of his whatever it is that he's a part of because she doesn't know at this point.
Right, but she's like not into. She's still in the I need to be in prison phase from the last episode, where it's like I'm gonna pay my debt the way that Starfleet says I have to pay my debt, and I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah. And so,
well, we can't send you back yet because your shuttle's all messed up.
Yeah. Okay. Believable. And then he puts all the prisoners to work. Right.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, you have special skills though, so I'm going to put you to work in." Did he call it engineering?
Yes, he did.
What?
I mean, I don't know why a xenobiologist would go to engineering, but apparently she's also really smart with other stuff.
He mentions quantum physics, right?
Right.
And then they're like, okay, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
And we get her little... She
gets a roommate.
She gets a roommate who it's implied has autism, I think?
I believe so, although, like, why did she get her own room? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird.
They don't explain that.
And someone finally says a female Michael.
Yes, and she's like, that couldn't be. The only female Michael I know is Michael Burnham, the traitor. You're not her, right?
deadpan silence.
Oops.
Oops. And then we get our first black alert.
And then they say black alert.
Yeah.
And Andrew, I paused the episode when they said that, and I stood up and I was like, what?
You stood up.
I rewound the episode 10 seconds and I listened again and I was like, what is going on?
How is there a black alert, first of all? I'm intrigued.
Not a thing.
I mean, it's not a thing.
Well, it is a thing now, apparently.
It might be a thing on a Section 31 ship, maybe. I
guess.
Look, maybe you shouldn't stand up during a black alert, though.
Clearly, you shouldn't be awake during them at all because physics kind of gets weird for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Or, the table gets kind of gooey.
Yeah, some of the table, lifts up. And
it turns, kind of goopy or whatever, and then stops.
I don't want to think about what's happening to your insides.
No, that seems bad.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of all of that, it seems. And then we kind of brush it off and we don't talk about it again.
Yep.
And Michael reports to engineering.
Yeah, Shroom seems to kind of still like her as he's taking her around the ship. Even though he doesn't like her, he seems to respect her, maybe.
She tries to apologize to him.
Yeah, that didn't go so good.
Didn't go so good.
We meet... Now I still have a question mark next to this guy's name. Lieutenant Stamens?
Couldn't tell you. Don't know.
Yeah.
Another character whose name I also could never hear.
Yeah, that was a weird one. That one was much harder. I'm trying to find his name.
I think they only said it the once, and then I never heard it again.
Paul Stamets.
Okay, see, I had no chance of ever finding that out.
Yeah, that Paul Stamets. I didn't even get that one. He's brushing dust off himself. He doesn't treat her so hot.
No.
Engineering has some cool holographic screens we've never seen before in Star Trek.
Yeah.
It's pretty legit.
They had those at the Vulcan Science Academy too, so
that's true.
I think they're just kind of deciding they have these now.
Uh-huh. Okay.
It's how it felt to me.
Yeah, I was wondering how far into dipping into retconning technology to make it better we would get, and it appears full steam ahead on that.
Yes,
is going to be the thing.
Let us retcon seems to be how it goes.
Oh well.
Yeah.
I really like when things can live within a space and improve them, but not overshoot. So we'll see.
Yeah, sci-fi in particular is tough because if you don't update the look, it looks old, and then people stop seeing it as it doesn't register as sci-fi.
Well, some of it makes sense where okay, well, we have cell phones, so we got to do something more advanced than cell phones.
Right. And, it's no one in the future would actually carry around a bunch of weird data pads like books when they could have one data pad that's like an ultra cell phone, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so they've done away with people carrying around data pads because it doesn't make any sense. But, it's I get it. Anyway, that part didn't bother me that much.
It's fine. It's just the holographic screen actually didn't bother me at all. I was just like, oh, okay. Is it going to be one of those things where we get the slow burn of I've never seen that little thing before? It makes sense, but
Yeah. I feel like there's going to be a lot of that in this show.
Takes her no time to use her screen to find people's math is bad. And then we see a breath scanner.
Yes. That's new.
Okay.
And then Michael gets the idea to break into that room.
I love this. I won't make any trouble for you, Saru, except for 5 minutes later when I break into the most secure facility on the ship.
By stealing my roommate's drool.
Oh, boy. I guess they had to do a breath scanner.
Real secure breath scanner.
Yeah, they had to do the breath scanner because otherwise she would have had to chop her roommate's hand off. Oh, boy.
I feel like her roommate would be less accommodating to her if she found out that she had chopped her hand off.
Right. So she finds some kind of forest with a bunch of sparkly stuff.
They look like weird space mushrooms.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Which is what they kind of imply that they are later.
Sounds good to me.
And then she's kind of like, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
And she closes the door again. And then there are no repercussions for her breaking in until like way later. Not even really repercussions. It's just like, hey, we know you did that.
Yeah. First of all, how did they know she did that? And secondly,
logs. I don't know. You could catch people doing stuff. But
I guess.
The question, I think no one cared. They're just like, oh, dang. The prisoner got in and saw our stuff. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
So we have an inkling earlier that there's another version of this experiment or whatever they're doing on this ship happening somewhere else. We find out it's on the USS Glenn.
The chief engineer is talking with someone who seems to be some kind of scientist rival guy. And they're talking about how ours has 900 megas or whatever.
Ours are only at 100 blah something.
Yeah, science units.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he's like, that seems dangerous. I'm worried for you. And the guy's like, nah, it's fine, bro.
We're going to do the biggest test ever tomorrow. Our ship's going to go across something.
And we'll be safe. And I'll talk to you after. And our names will be on the prize together.
Nope.
We then get a message that last night, the Glen exploded. Everyone's dead. They
say they had an accident. And the whole crew's dead. It's like, whoa, okay, not good.
Yeah.
Lorca burns Stamets really bad. He's like, you're not so smart. Burnham's smarter than you. Take Burnham and figure out what the problem is.
Yeah.
That guy Stamets is pretty angry.
Justifiably?
Yeah. I mean, he's just mad all the time, though. I mean, sure.
He's pretty pissed at the whole situation. And you kind of get his backstory here. He talks about how he and that other guy were working on this technology kind of in secret for a while and for peaceful purposes.
Right.
And then Starfleet comes in and is like, actually, this would make a good war thing. And we're going to pick it up.
His point is that biology and physics are the same at the quantum level.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a giant. I just have a bunch of giant question marks in this part of the episode, and then I wrote, "Man, I love Star Trek pseudoscience." So yeah, I don't know. The show brings up then this analogy of like, oh, you know, the veins and blood of the cosmos, and all of this, like, oh, biology is the same as physics, which, okay, yes.
Hand wavy again.
Bodies are definitely governed by physics, and there's, you know, some physics under there. Biological processes are physical ones, too, sure. And then he just goes, what if, like, cells were space? And you're just like, I think you're going a little farther than maybe science would dictate here.
Spores are space.
What if you could, like, travel through the blood vessels of space? That's not a thing, my man.
Yeah. It reminds me very much, getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but it reminds me very much of the webway idea from Warhammer 40K.
Yes, actually, like the Eldar and the Webway, and actually, I thought at this point, and then as they go on to this USS Glenn mission, as they're going to like retrieve the technology and whatever, so that, you know, it doesn't go into bad hands.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking that this was Species 8472 from Voyager.
Oh.
People who also used organic transportation and like lived in like weird kind of alternate dimension stuff.
But
nope, that's not what is going on here.
Wow.
Like that was just the first thing that had popped into my mind after all of that. I was like, oh wow, this is like a really weird,
what
cool
a callback
way. Yeah. It's like, oh, like these evil, you know, like evil. I don't know. They're portrayed as like evil in Voyager, but who knows? I don't know what their deal was.
I don't know what. It was like, very non-direct.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, maybe this is like the first encounter that Starfleet has with them, but it's all secret or whatever, so that's why you don't find out about it. Like Janeway doesn't know or anything. But nope, that's not what's happening.
Man, if they had figured that out, because like, didn't the 8472 like beat the Borg?
Yeah, they were like, they had handled the Borg problem so thoroughly that the Borg left them alone.
Yeah.
Because the Borg tried to assimilate them, and then they went to war and like almost destroyed all the Borg. And then the Borg were like, never mind, we're going to leave these people alone.
That would have been legit. I mean, this is still cool-ish, but like that would have been legit.
It is cool, but we aren't really sure at this point what's going on. And there's kind of we get a little bit of like a mini alien movie here in the middle of this episode.
I didn't. Ugh.
It was kind of scary, almost like actually. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Event Horizon. You've seen that movie, right?
It was very. I thought we were gonna have that right where there's like a black hole on the ship for a moment because those bodies were not human looking. I
wanted Sam Neill to come in and start talking about Latu Domine Infernae or whatever with like black eyes and stuff.
Stuff was jacked up. There was like puddles of people everywhere.
And like bones sticking out at very unnatural angles.
And there's a monster.
Having been rearranged. Yeah. And so then like you get the monster, the alien, which looked like a kind of like a weird evil space dog with like a face or something.
I think this is the only time we see Klingons this episode. And they're all dead all over the place. Except for the one guy that was hiding in the shadows.
Our friend to Michael, whose name I have forgotten.
Sylvia. Yes. Sylvia. I don't remember.
One of those says, "Hey, you there in the shadows, come out. We see you." A Klingon comes out and says, "Shh," and then someone goes, "Did he just shush you?" And then the alien kills him.
Yeah. And,
I actually laughed pretty hard at that part.
I laughed pretty hard at that.
Intended to be comedic.
And also I laughed at like, I totally spotted the red shirt on this mission.
Yeah, right.
He gets it immediately after.
You got a name at least.
He did.
It's like Gradkowski or whatever. Hey, come with us. You guy with a gun who is going to very clearly die.
Yeah. Hey, we get also here a shot of the bridge as they're talking to Lorca, and we get another android robot lady. This one doesn't have a TV head, though.
Yeah. Less cool, but still all right.
Still legit.
And Saru puts her in charge at one point even. He was like, hey, you robot lady are in charge. I have to go talk with Michael.
Right.
I think that's later in the episode, maybe.
So they get off the ship with the stuff they need, with her crawling through a vent.
A Jeffries tube. Jeffries tubes are things.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. It is a Jeffries tube.
She says as she's concocting her cockamamie scheme, well, I hope all these starships are laid out the same. It's like, that's a bad guess.
Maybe she memorized the Discovery's Jeffries tubes already?
When?
I don't. Okay, so back on the Discovery.
Right, back on the Discovery. Yeah. That's the correct thing to do here.
Why does Lorca have the discretion to fight a war, and why does he have a tribble on his desk? Okay. And why does he have fortune cookies?
I also wanted to know why he had a tribble.
All these things I want to know the answers to. I didn't understand. I thought, like, my dog was making noise for a little while, because I didn't see the tribble.
Oh, I saw the tribble, and I was like, is that a tribble? And then it purrs, and I'm like, that's definitely a tribble. And then I was like, well, why does he have that?
We find out later.
How aren't there? Oh, we do?
Well, I make a guess later, right?
Oh, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, so Lorca says, you're sticking around. I'm putting you back in Starfleet. I need your help. And she's like, nah, you're making a bioweapon. I don't want any part of that.
And then Lorca does the evil mustache twirling villain thing of, no, actually, we can do this to make everyone's life better. And
right. Mycelium spores will let us jump to the beta quadrant in 1.3 seconds.
And he gives her he puts her in the magic Shroom chamber where she gets high as F.
Dude, the Shroom chamber is the best. They should have called the episode the Shroom Chamber.
It's like I wrote down here the mushroom effect. It's like Mass Effect.
That's
mushrooms.
Wonderful.
And so he's like, I'll show you the technology, right? And he locks her in the shroom chamber and fills it with a bunch of stardust particles that are spores or whatever. And this somehow lets her trip out and see like she's in other places. Does she actually go to those places? I don't think so.
I can't imagine that that's how that works. They can't send her separately from the ship.
They implied that, though.
I think what they're implying is that you can see, if you get all high on the shrooms in the shroom chamber, you can see where the webway goes.
I see.
Because all the spores are interconnected. Context is for kings, JJ.
Right. He then says that, and I was like, what? What does that have to do with anything? He mentions that, Michael, you're a person who did the right thing even though it was against the rules, and I need people like that because context is king.
Yeah.
And I don't think that follows. That was the name of this episode, by the way, Context is King. And I didn't get it.
I mean, he's implying that, like, I guess she was right that Starfleet should have shot first, and I think that's the one thing I want to talk about when we finish the episode for a minute.
I actually bought that part more than the like context part. I was like, what does the context have to do with it?
We'll talk about it in a minute. Let's finish the episode and then we'll talk about that, because that's my main thing after watching these two episodes is like, what is Starfleet in this version of Starfleet?
So I think
Saru has something come out of his head.
Yeah, that was
after
weird.
She accepts, because he tells her, "Oh, we're gonna make this new transportation drive that we never see again in any of Star Trek." So obviously it's a rousing success.
Yeah. But the idea is very cool, right? And Gorka's like, we can use this to win the war, and then when the war is done, we can use this to make space travel great for everyone, and everyone will be really great, and it'll be good. And definitely, I'm not evil. Don't worry. Trust me.
Yeah. Something
comes and out Michael goes, yeah, sure, this seems legitimate. And signs on.
So she stays on the ship. The ship leaves. The shuttle leaves with all the prisoners, and Saru's head grows something out of it. Kind of like it implied that it's like his danger reflex or whatever. Yeah. The king of bad ideas strikes. And, And they kept the monster. We see Gorka and Lorca, sorry, and the security lady whose name I forgot. I don't know. He implies that they're gonna hang out later, and Lorca goes over and like tries to pet. So yes, they. Now my question here is: did they keep the monster, or did both places have a monster? No. Because he says, "Is our guest settled in?" And the implication was that he was talking about Burnham. You're like, "Oh, and then he says, "Thanks for transporting it for me." She's like, "Anytime, bro." Okay. And then they're both sensitive to light. Misunderstood that. Lorca and the monster are sensitive to light. Inside of Lorca's, this is where I think he gets a tribble, because he has his like little chamber of like. He's like menagerie of horror. Yeah, menagerie. That's a good word. It's like tons and tons of alien bodies and stuff. And like weird aliens. It looks like a mad scientist lab. It totally does. Yeah. And you sort of realize that like, hey, Lorca hasn't really been on the level with any of us here. Clear. That's clear. No duh, based on how he has acted and talked the entire time. Yeah. Well, he went from like, oh, maybe this guy's a cool hard captain, like wartime dude that was injured, so he got put into a science ship where we'll see some cool tension between scientists and generals, right? Like, and that's like a very Star Trek thing to talk about, right? Like, like science being used for war and how science conflicts with war and all that stuff. That's like a very normal Star Trek topic. Which is exactly why I wanted to talk about what is Starfleet in this version. All on board, right? Yeah, because I would totally see that as what is Starfleet. Oh, we have to make this story about war conflicting with science and what we're going to do for it. And then towards the end of this, we get the impression that actually they call it a science ship, but it's really a weapons platform, and Starfleet is 100% in on making sure that like this guy and probably other versions of this guy are like let off the chain. It definitely feels like
if Starfleet isn't 100% in on it, this dude is 100% in on it, and he is 100% in on the I will win at any cost. I don't care what rules say.
Right.
I'm the evil captain now. You're on board the, the murder ship here or whatever.
Well, Burnham says something interesting earlier in the episode too. She says, I'm a Starfleet first officer. I'm going to live by Starfleet's rules, and I'm going to go to prison based on Starfleet's rules. I don't know that I buy her explanation, and maybe that's a little bit of a penitent explanation, because she was willing to throw out Starfleet rules when she was, we're going to shoot these Klingons because that's what we have to do.
Yeah, she even says, like, he goes, oh, is this like some kind of, self-inflicted, like, oh, I have to pay for my crimes or whatever? And she's like, well, that's not it. Well, that's not only it.
Right.
So it's definitely some of that. But yeah, then her just being like, I have to live an upstanding life in prison is not maybe the most believable.
So the Starfleet until Deep Space Nine, when we kind of get the idea that there's stuff under the scenes with Section 31, and we go to war really for the first time, that is very clearly defined war.
Right.
In the past, this version of Star Trek seems to not maybe have as clearly defined what Starfleet is yet. Although Captain Georgiou and the rest of them seem like they know what Starfleet is. So some people seem to have a very strong opinion of Starfleet being the rigid exploration and scientific structure that it is later with Picard and early versions of Voyager and DS9, whereas then Burnham and a couple other people, as soon as we hit the flak with the Klingons, seem to be more willing than the other captains to have said, whatever, Starfleet's Starfleet, we have spaceships, it's time to go to war.
I think the thing that... So there's definitely a implication that this is like the side you didn't see of Star Trek, right? This is the cool underbelly of like evil stuff going on in space. And yeah, I don't know that I like it that much.
It certainly feels like there's like we're waiting for a shoe to drop on like Lorca, or the ship being more than just a science ship. Something, they definitely do a good job showing you something's not quite right. But I don't know if they're leaning into like, hey, this isn't Starfleet not quite right, or just like, oh, the show's going to have plot twists kind of thing.
Yeah. It's only episode 3. It's hard to know. We literally have only seen the Discovery for half of one episode. But yeah, I don't know. The tone the show is striking here is very like contradictory, right? There's like the Starfleet as the aspirational like symbol of hope for humanity, and then there's like also Starfleet loves guns and killing. Yeah.
Okay.
And you're like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, why? Yeah. So it's, I don't know. It's conflicted. I feel.
Right. Okay. I'm glad that I'm not quite alone in feeling like I don't have a clear direction on what version of Starfleet we're seeing.
I hope that they give us some more context as to whether Lorca is really working within the system and everyone is like, yeah, this guy knows what's up and this is what we want, or if he has kind of gone rogue and is out there just like doing murder experiments and capturing aliens and like doing weapons research that's hella illegal. It
seems like he implies that he's been, let off the chain by Starfleet, but then, Saru gives us some idea that maybe
everything is fine here, and this is just normal like first officering stuff. I'm just the captain doesn't fear enough things, so I'm scared of stuff, so I can tell him when things are actually bad and he should be afraid.
Right. Well, he definitely mentions like Lorca's not afraid of the things normal people are afraid of.
Yeah.
Which implies maybe
Is he like a sociopath or something?
Yeah, he's either a sociopath or like maybe that means like he's not a Starfleet captain in the way that like most Starfleet captains are, the theologian scholar type, worried about things that could happen, whereas Lorca maybe charges ahead of decision making, which would, if he is responsible, which it's heavily suggested here directly by him that he directed Burnham to his ship. He took the most infamous person in the galaxy to get his ship doing something.
Yeah, he decided that like actually what I need to get this project going is literally the most heinous war criminal I can find. I mean, kind of, right? Like, everyone implies that this is the first mutineer in Starfleet history. She started this war, this stuff.
They lay on her that she started the war. I don't quite understand that logic.
I don't either.
After
based
thinking
on the
about
events, that's not how it goes. So
right,
I don't know.
Oh, well.
Yep. Oh, well. I still am cautiously interested in some more episodes, but I don't know. Now that we're like, okay, this is the ship. This will be what it is. Hopefully, we're going to see the adventures of Michael on this weird science, quote unquote, vessel.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. So
do we think that this is a linear thing where we're going to keep going from here? Or is it going to be more chopped up into individual stories like most Star Trek?
It certainly could go either way based on this setup, right?
Right. I think it'll end up being more linear. But we'll see.
I feel like that's the kind of storytelling we get these days, so it would likely be that way.
I think, like you, I'm a little bit more hesitant than I was, but I quite like it overall in terms of its aesthetic. Like,
it looks so beautiful. Good. And it feels, even though the uniforms are all different and the technology doesn't look the same or anything, it still kind of feels like Star Trek in a way, even if maybe its heart doesn't feel that way.
It's like if you bought the same brand of jeans forever and then they change up the cut a little bit. You're like, they still look good. They fit a little weird the first couple times you put them on, but... Yeah.
That's like a good analogy, actually.
Yeah. Wow. On that note, if somebody has a good pair of jeans brand...
feel free to send them to us at podcast@weweregamers.com. That's our email.
Yeah. If you... Don't spoil stuff for us in the emails.
Yeah, we would prefer not to be spoiled on this. We're watching it at our own pace.
But we'll find the explanations if they're there.
Yeah.
You can also,
it's only episode 3, so
right. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all those places. YouTube.
Yeah, check out We Were Gamers on YouTube. Subscribe. You can hit that little notification icon on there and get notified when we post our new stuff.
All right. He doesn't still have a word, does he?
No. If he has one, we haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, we see them go to warp, but I don't think we don't go to the bridge when they go to warp. They just go to warp.
Yep.
Huh. We'll have to find out what his word is, but until then, I guess since there's been so much Picard news and that Picard trailer we didn't even talk about.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Engage.
Engage.
I would watch him grow grapes for 2 seasons.
I know, Andrew. Did I send you guys that hilarious tweet thread of the guy complaining about the grapes?
Oh, yes. Yeah. We should link that in the We Were Gamers thread.
Yeah, it's so good. He's like, you're telling me that they gave ground crew status to a Labar vintage and the AOC is willing to do this? That's less believable.
I'm okay with them retrellising because maybe things got phylloxera and then they were like, actually, the American way is better. But giving ground crew to something that's not in the right place is not a good idea.
That's not something they would ever do.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, like obviously, that's like who cares thing, but also like very funny. Yeah. I read that to my parents and my dad was like chuckling.
On the floor, yeah.
And my mom was like, "What are you guys talking about?" She's not really into Star Trek, and then also like not as deep into the like the winemaking stuff as my dad. So I thought it was like, this is a very tiny intersection of fandoms right here, and I am here for it.
I'm the only one.
Yes.
All right, man, I gotta run.
I feel seen. All right, later, dude.